Wow, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out on a Friday night for the opening weekend of this movie. I am so in love with this film. We're only halfway through the year. I think it's the best movie of the year. And I am so, yeah, sure. Thank you. I had nothing to do with it, but thank you. At this time, please join me in welcoming not only the star of the film, but also the director is here too. Please welcome Dexter Fletcher and Taron Egerton.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now we're out of time after all that. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for
That
being
was
here.
so lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, truly, on a fantastic movie. Whenever I have people as accomplished as you guys are, I actually like to embarrass them a little and go back to the beginning. What was your first job in this business? The first time you felt you could call yourself an actor? Dexter, you started as an actor.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I can go way back.
No, go on. We've all got time. Let's go.
Okay. So
I remember it was the summer of 1970.
1974, I think it was. For you were all born. I was in a musical that went by the name of Bugsy Malone.
Wait, that was your first job?
No, that wasn't my first job, but it was the first movie I did. I'd done some stuff before that when I was a little bit younger, but I played a character called Babyface in Bugsy Malone.
Yes, you did.
Which was a Alan Parker film with Jodie Foster and Scott Baio. So there you go. Woo! So there you go. That was my big first job, anyway.
And for
What's
you?
yours?
So my first professional acting job was when I left drama school in 2012. I went to the National Theatre to do a play with Julie Walters and Helen McCrory and Rory Kinnear called The Last of the Housemans, in which I played someone who is competing to be an Olympic swimmer. Had a similar body type to the type I have in this film. But people seem to let me off the hook.
It's theatre, you can get away with it.
Yeah, and this is no fair. These were supposed to be questions to humble you, and your first job was a play with Helen McCrory,
Yeah.
and yours was Bugsy Malone. This is insane.
No,
We're very high pedigree, as you can tell.
I was thinking in so many ways it feels like you were sort of destined to play Elton John. I know you sang I'm Still Standing in Sing, and Elton was in Kingsman, the sequel.
He was, yeah. That's when
But-
I first met him, yeah.
But did you have any idea at that time that this was even in the works or this could happen?
I think it was probably around that time that Matthew Vaughn, who... Is that a storm or is that...
I think it's a loud movie next door.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
right? I think it's Godzilla.
Already being trumped by a giant lizard. Matthew Vaughn is someone that Dexter and I have both worked with a lot over the years. Dexter, obviously, for a longer period of time, but he first came to me on the set of Kingsman 2 and said, you know, how do you feel about playing Elton? And I'd be lying if I said it was the first time it had crossed my mind. I was aware of the project. I was aware that there was another actor attached to it. And also, at that point, it was touted the prospect of Dexter directing it. Dexter and I made a movie called Eddie the Eagle, which we were very, very, very proud of. And we were desperate to do something else together. Well, I was at least. And, and it just felt right. It just felt like it might work.
It was a genius idea. Matt Vaughn, sorry, mate, but Matt Vaughn, he called me and said, listen, and because he speaks like this, Matt Vaughn, and he said, Taron as Elton in an R-rated musical. And I was like, it's a brilliant idea because I know, knowing Taron as I do and knowing that there's this actor in there, you know, dying to get out. Of course, we've seen him be brilliant as Eggsy and Eddie and all these other stuff, but I knew that this was going to demand so much of him and that he had so much to give, as well as this incredible voice, that I just knew it was a fantastic idea.
Speaking of fantastic, this film is told in a very fantastical, sometimes surreal way. Did you always know that was the way you were going to tell the story?
Yes, I mean, I suppose so. That was always the idea, that it was to take Elton's story and be a reflection of him, really, and that that meant to us that it was kind of grand and audacious and full of life and fantasy and every corner that we could find, every moment where we could add music and add that fantasy and add that sort of larger than life element to surround Taron and this very kind of real human kind of emotional journey that he was going on. So that it's a film of, you know, real intense kind of human emotion and then these big expansive numbers. That was so much more exciting than the by the numbers kind of biopic, you know, that people have seen, which is great, but we wanted to do something different. We always wanted to do something different.
As great a story as Elton has and as amazing as this film turned out, were you ever scared or at least intimidated by the idea? I mean, this is a beloved icon. You know, we've all listened to his music. Or did you just have to sort of put the fear aside?
I think we're both, yeah, undoubtedly. I think we've both had moments, but we're both a pair of fucking lunatics, really, aren't we? And I think rather than that pressure feeling overwhelming or daunting, there's something really exhilarating about it, and you don't want to. I know that could be misconstrued, and that's not. I don't want to suggest an irreverence for Elton and his legacy. That was always at the heart of what we wanted to do. We wanted to celebrate the great man, but we knew that in order to do the job that we wanted to do, we had to be free and creative with it and fun. So whilst there were moments of self-doubt and reflection where you think, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? By and large, it's just so exciting. What a privilege, what an honour, what a thrill to be the people chosen to do it. You know?
We didn't have a lot of time for that as well, to really sort of sit around and go, oh my God. It was like, get on with it, go. You know, we knew we were coming out in Cannes pretty much once we started. It was like there's a window, and so we really had to go. And, you know, you don't have that luxury of sitting around and having too much kind of doubt about it. And I think, you know, I keep saying it, but it is reflective in Taron's performance. Is that he's so committed, he's so there in the pursuit of truth that when you sit down and watch that first speech, you're just in. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, when I watch him sit down and says, I'm an alcoholic and a sex addict and a cocaine addict, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And that's the first 4 lines of the film, you know. Yeah. It's like, and he's so there. That's why it's all in one shot. It just pushes in slowly. It's like.
Did you forget to yell cut? You were just like,
yeah, several times. I was like, oh yeah, stop.
I mean, you have an amazing ensemble from top to bottom. You have everyone from Bryce Dallas Howard in this. I love the relationship with Elton and Bernie, and I think Jamie Bell is so fantastic in this. Did you know him at all? Your chemistry is fantastic.
No, weirdly, we met. Jamie was nominated for another BAFTA at the start of last year, and I met him at the after party in London. It's all very glitzy, it's all very glamorous. It's very fun. It's just the kind of stuff we do, you know. But I met him at this after party, and obviously it's Jamie Bell, you know. I was really quite excited to meet him, but he was very kind about me, and weirdly we both said that night, you know, early on in January, February last year, wouldn't it be great if we got to do something together? And then 4 or 5 months later, we're playing Elton John and Bernie Taupin, and it's just funny how life turns out. And we got on very, very well, and I think, you know, that relationship is such an intriguing one, and the enduring nature of it as well. You know, we sat and watched the movie together for the first time with Elton and Bernie, you know, and we depict them meeting at 20 odd, and they're still going strong at 69 and 72, whatever they are, and it's, you know, such a cool thing that it's lasted this long.
It may sound like a strange question, but was there any sort of a chemistry read between them? Because their relationship is so vital to this movie, or did you just know that they would work on screen?
No, there wasn't. I mean, it's funny that. I mean, it just didn't feel necessary. I mean, obviously Taron was there. There was a chemistry read with Taron and Richard. Very early on. There was,
wow.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember.
We just had to make sure it was sexy enough. It needed to be really sexy, so we just had to make sure we were...
Because there's doubts about Richard. Is Richard sexy? Is Taron sexy?
Jury's out on whether Richard's sexy.
Are they sexy?
I'm not sure.
No, it was like if we combine the two, will there be an explosion? You know.
It's an unfortunate turn of phrase.
Yeah, it was. Sorry. Sorry. It's a very good scene. I mean, you must admit. It's a... no, because Jamie was in LA and he and I had a Skype call, and I knew that he spoke really eloquently and interesting. He'd already done a lot of research on Bernie, and I just, talking to him we must have spoke for about 2 hours on Skype, and just knowing where Taron was or where Taron was going and what he was building and what he was moving towards, and talking to Jamie, without even putting them together, I knew there was this incredible compliment going on, because Jamie's so rooted that allows Taron to be that bigger, be Elton. You can't have an Elton that's all sort of moody and Marlon Brando-esque. It's not gonna. You need an actor who's gonna be out there and take the chances, and that needs a certain amount of rooting. So I think what I always said to the guys is I need sort of 3 Hamlets, but all quite different. They'd all play a great Hamlet, but it'll be very, very different. And so no, we didn't have that chance.
Mine would be the most fabulous.
Yeah.
The best
Taron's
dressed,
would
for
be
sure.
the most fabulous.
Yeah, mine would be the one in the most flashy frock.
It's funny because I know actors are sort of discouraged from going over the top in some performances, but can you go over the top as Elton John? Was there ever a moment when you thought, oh, I need to pull back in this scene?
No, I don't know. Maybe I should have. No, I don't. I think there's something of Elton that is about not only the flamboyance and the exuberance, but there's an extreme of feeling, and there's an acuteness of emotion to him. There's a real things. I think he has a very soft outer shell, and things go straight to the heart of him, and it manifests really, really, really strongly. So maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it always felt like we were. I mean, that's the relationship between actor and director. Is that I go and do something, and there's a very strong chance I'm going to fuck it up, and Dex will then go. Dex will coax and give me that set of eyes on myself, because you can't have a set of eyes on yourself as you're performing, because you want to get lost in the role. So you throw yourself out there, and then you've got a relationship of trust with the person who's putting the movie together and got this vision for it, and then you trust that he'll tell you if you're making a hash.
No, I never felt that. I always like to push him a little bit further, if anything, because I know that he's our main guy. He's the guy that we want to feel everything that he feels. It feels consistent to me. The emotional, line through that Taron plays is so genuine and so real and so truthful that some people are like that. Some people are out there. They're larger than life, and other people are more contained. Yeah. This Elton, he got it all out there.
I feel like I meet people every day, and I think if I put you in a film, people would think it was way too much. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? People like that. And you think, they're such extreme personalities that it's almost like you couldn't write it. And so I think there's a bit of that to Elton. He is larger than life. And I loved it. I loved that feeling of expansiveness and that, that kind of unguarded exuberance. It was a joy to play.
And how involved was he? I believe I heard for preparation, he gave you a copy of his unpublished memoirs?
Oh, yeah, I've read them.
Wow.
I've read yeah. They're
Tell us everything.
They're really frank, and they're very, very, very funny. They were a real gift, actually. And as well as those, I also read his diaries from 1970 to 1976, which were lost for many years. And I think someone who worked for him had them in an attic, and they just reappeared. They're very economically written. They're less. There's less. They're less emotive, and there's less of an attitude in them. They're so economic. They're quite hilarious, actually. It's sort of the washing machine's broken, rope candle in the wind type of thing.
An average day. Sure.
An average day in the life, yeah. But what Elton and David what was so gracious about them was that they really kind of just gave me this access into their lives, really. And I sort of spent some time at their home and spent a bit of time with their boys. And it wasn't that I was kind of, studying him to try and mimic him or copy every mannerism he has. It's more about wanting to personalize the experience of playing him and make it matter to you and make it feel very real, so that when you turn up on set, yeah, you know, I'm assuming this persona, this Elton-esque persona, but it's me, you know, it's still me, and it's me through a filter, through a prism, through an Elton psychedelic filter, you know, and spending all that time with him really helped personalize that. It never felt like we were reaching for emotion in the film, or that all kind of just seemed to happen very organically, I think.
And it even got to the point I felt like even like someone like Bryce would come to you to talk to you about how Elton was, or how he might have. Do you know what I mean? To get some sort of bead on how his mother was, because Elton and Taron's relationship was so close and so detailed and so honest, that for someone like Bryce, who kind of flew in, hit Abbey Road, sang her song, got onto the set, did her thing, you know, for her to try to, you know, get some sort of take on her character, on the mother. It was interesting to hear her sort of and see her gravitate more towards Taron, because he was, you know, someone who was kind of manifesting through Elton through him, really.
And I know you could already sing, but very few people can sing like Elton John. So I understand you had to take lessons, and it was pretty intensive. Was it 5 months?
There was a lot of time. I mean, I'm not going to do that thing that actors do, where they kind of go, you know, it was years. It was years of years of training, darling. I had to stretch my vocal cords. No, it wasn't like that. It was. We, you know, in February of last year, we went into Abbey Road for the first time, and we got to work, and we spent months in the studio working on the songs. And Dexter, myself, Giles Martin, who is a genius and one of the greatest men I've ever met, you know, sorting out all elements of the music for the film. And we approached it in terms of how do we take these songs and make them great tools for our storytelling purposes. You know, how can we take a well-known pop rock song and make it a legitimate piece of musical theatre that either expresses something about the character or moves the story forward. And so in the process of all of that, the singing that happened every day doing that, I think, caused my voice to strengthen and grow. And I certainly felt that with the rockier stuff, which is not something I'd had a huge amount of experience of before, so Benny and the Jets, Pinball Wizard, Saturday Night's Right for Fighting, the things that you need a bit of that, just a touch of Joe Cocker in there to kind of give it some welly, that grew over time. But it never felt like a labour. This work never felt like a chore or something that I was required to do to get to a certain point. We just were creative in the extreme for a few months, and we were all really happy. And
he loves it being there. I mean, it was understandably so.
I
He
loved
has this
it.
great
I did. I
instrument,
loved it.
he has, and just bending it and moving it and finding these different and new ways of using it is very exciting. It was always exciting. And I could jump in and say, we're talking about this for this number, you know, we've got to do, and he'd get ignited by that, and that would then, you know, sort of inform what he did vocally. It was a really great sort of collaboration across all the different elements, really.
I mean, even though there's some very tragic elements of Elton's life, which I didn't know about, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, it must be a joy to play him. He seems like such a joyous person.
100%. And I personally, you know, every actors have different experiences of their craft and opinions on their craft. I personally don't subscribe to the idea that because you're portraying something seemingly unhappy that you are unhappy. Mm-hmm. I think there's a great catharsis in expression. And actually, you know, in a scene where you're crying, it's not like you really feel like, you know, your mum's just passed away or something. There's a great release in it. There's a freedom of expression in it that I really enjoy. I don't want to make the performance seem hollow, but there's you know, it's about expression, and I love that. And Elton is just about the most expressive person I can think of, and so bringing his story to life and portraying both the hugely joyous celebratory moments as well as the darker, more troubled, angst-ridden moments was just, I loved it. I loved I loved every fucking moment of it. I
it's
really
part,
did. It was great.
It's part of a whole. That's why it's part of. It's you got to be able to have those lows and the highs. And it really felt like we were creating a very whole story, a whole character. Someone with this huge emotional journey. And I understand what you're saying, that you were as much invested in those dark moments as you were. And of course, it's good to have fun, but it's also good to be in the darker places as well. They were equally as
still
rewarding and
creative.
important.
You're still creating even when you're doing the things that the character not having a good time. So the character is of course having a miserable time, but the actor expressing, I think there's a joy and a lightness in that.
And I'm sorry, but I have to ask, these costumes are amazing. First of all, I hope you kept some. But secondly, I mean, is it fun to get to dress up like that, or is it a pain when you have 6-inch heels?
No, it's amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I got paid to do that. It's so fabulous. I mean, Julian Day, who I've worked with before, and Dex has worked with before, who designed the costumes in this movie. I mean, you don't need, it speaks for itself. His work is extraordinary, and they're all reimaginings as well. Of course, there are some that are nearer and more faithful to some of the iconic looks we know. Dodger Stadium being a great example, but the orange Madison Square Garden rehab costume is Julian. There are ideas, of course, from Dex too, but it's Julian's creation, and it's so Elton. But it's not as well, and that's hugely exciting for me. And when you put those clothes on, you feel different. It's why we all adopt our own sense of style, because whatever we wear, that's what you feel. That makes you feel good. You feel like you hit the right note in it, and you can go out and face the world. And it just so happens that the note Elton was hitting was pretty bloody extreme. But for me as an actor, it was just phenomenally satisfying and great fun.
Did Elton ever come to set, or would that just be too intimidating?
It would have been fairly intimidating. It was. He did come to set in the rehearsal stage, in the early stages before we kicked off.
And he stressed me out that day as well.
Yeah, he did. You were like, I don't know, Dex. I mean, it's like, what's he talking about? It's like, it's fine. But he did. He came and saw everything that was being developed and all the ideas and designs. And I'd been for dinner with him a few times and shown him the orange devil outfit and stuff like that. And he came and watched a big dance rehearsal and sort of mumbled to people. But and he did. But I think what he did so brilliantly is he gave us room to fly. Mm-hmm. He gave us the space to, fall or fly. Really, I suppose is the way to say. We could have floundered, but I think that he trusted us. He gave us that trust. He gave us that love and responsibility. And he had a farewell tour that he was undertaking. They had to cover, but I think he knew that there was no value in him sort of sitting there every day watching it. Because what could we achieve? We're going, Elton's over there, and we needed to be able to express his part of the story that we wanted to tell.
The really great thing about Elton is that he still has this kind of childlike wonder for things and this enthusiasm, and everything that we were doing, we would present to him, with bated breath, frankly, and he would just go, it's brilliant. It looks fab. He was basically just saying, you guys go do it, He's not, he hasn't picked us flippantly. He's obviously, the vetting process, I think, was probably quite extensive, but once we were there, he trusted us to go and do the job. And also the other thing to remember about Elton is he's not sort of the most offensive thing you could do with Elton is be boring. It's that he can't abide. He can't abide the needlessly pedestrian. He doesn't want to wait around and get bored by things. If I'm throwing chairs around the room and screaming at the top of my head, I think he's sort of okay with that, But that speaks a lot to the kind of person he is.
He has been so rhapsodic in his praise for the movie, and specifically for you. I know he has gone on record as saying no one else could have played this. What was it like that first time you screened it with him? I mean, were you watching him? Were you watching the movie?
Well, it was Cannes. It was the Cannes screen.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
That was the first time
That was the first time I'd seen it finished.
What?
He only finished it about 5 days before.
I'd finished it 5 days before, and then... true.
I'm
Yeah.
having a panic attack for you. That's terrible.
No, it's true. I literally, we finished it on the Friday. I QC'd it, watched it on the Friday. Went right. Can on Thursday. God, and then we were sitting there all dressed up and all done up, and we all walked in, and Taron and I sat next to each other, and
Both of us shaking. Like,
Bernie and Elton were there, and we just sort of watched the whole film like that.
yeah.
Because that was the first. I mean, people had heard music and seen bits and pieces, but the full, complete, finished version. I mean, we haven't had time to go. What have we done? This is why, for us, this is incredibly.
This is so exciting
This is
for us.
amazing for us because
we still can't figure out what we've done.
yeah. It was like, does it work? We don't know. We haven't.
Who is it? Rod Stewart?
Rod, no, not Rod Stewart. No. It was going to be him, remember? We changed that. So that was an incredible moment because they're, as Taron was saying earlier, Elton and Bernie are side by side, and they're holding each other. They're watching. They're reliving moments in their history that we've just brought to the screen, and we care deeply about how they feel about it, and. It was nerve-wracking.
And when, with that the moment in the movie where I'm sat in the calf and I've got these lyrics and Bernie walks in, looking all cool with his long hair, and he sort of goes, Elton, and they kind of just have this moment, and we were looking to the right to see how they were processing it, and they just kept grabbing each other's knee and sort of smiling at each other, and it's just and you think that's like 50 odd years ago, and you just what a surreal, magical, beautiful thing that is,
It is so beautiful. I'm so happy it's out now because I feel like I've been talking about it for forever. Just before we go, I want to remind everyone, please stay seated as they have to be somewhere. But as someone who loves to karaoke Elton John, what is your favorite song, either to perform or just listen to?
I mean, I think Dex had this great idea after we'd finished the movie of including some songs as soundtrack pieces, sort of needle drops, kind of thematic things for certain characters. So when Jamie Bell arrives, it's Border Song, and one of the lyrics is, he's my brother, let us live in peace. And then, when I meet John Reed and we have this fabulous moment of intimacy, it's Take Me to the Pilot of Your Soul that plays. And I think we really enjoyed, we loved Amarina, Hercules I love as well. But in terms of something that it doesn't feature in the movie, my favourite album is Captain Fantastic, and I love I love Someone Saved My Life Tonight.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's second only to I Want Love, which I'm so glad you guys included
we got that
in
one
such
in,
a beautiful way. Again, I cannot, actually I just want to thank you. Thank you for not messing it up. It's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I did have this guy. It helps a lot. It helps a lot.
Thank you guys for being such a great
Thank
audience.
you for being so warm.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.